Okay, so welcome everybody. This is Karen Yancey with Online Learning Services at the College of St. Rose. And I am going to show you different settings in Zoom. And some of you have basic accounts. Some of you have what are called licensed accounts. And most of these settings are usable in the basic account. Let's see. There are only a few settings that are specific to the licensed account, specifically recording to the cloud, for example. In a basic account, you can record your meetings. You just would have to record them to your computer, to your hard drive, or your device, whatever you happen to be using. Now, as you can see, I'm in my dashboard, which is located on the web. The Zoom profile and setting is actually a web page, and this is called the dashboard. You can see there are different tabs in the dashboard on the left-hand side, and I'm going to the Settings tab. And in Settings, there are some tabs across the top. I'm going to predominantly focus on the Meeting tab because that's where most of the settings are that are really quite relevant to what we're using. These sub-tabs are actually just headings of this long list. You can see there's a long list of all the settings, and these subheadings are in grayed out areas. So if I were to tap onto security, it would take me to that location on the list. Most of the settings are already defaulted to what most people want. So you're not likely to need to adjust many of these settings unless you have specific needs that are very specific to your class for some reason. As you can see at the top are the most commonly asked about settings that people want to adjust. So for example, the waiting room is, I have mine not set on, but this is a toggle switch. So if I were to turn my waiting room on, you'll see that my setting has been updated, it is now on. And I can adjust some of the things people will see when they enter the waiting room. I can edit the options of the waiting room, and I can have it make sure that everybody goes to the waiting room or only people who are not in my specific account or allowed domain. In our specific case, our domain is strohs.edu. So anybody with a strohs.edu extension to their web address would be able to go directly into the meeting. Or if I were to set this to everyone, everybody would go into the waiting room. So you have different settings. This is customizing the waiting room is very helpful. In this setting, you can change the message that the person will see when they enter that virtual waiting room, that page that they reach. Instead of having "please wait, the meeting host will see you soon," you can adjust that to a different message. You can say, welcome. Whoops. We will be with you shortly. And I can press the check mark to save, and it has been saved now. If I wanted to re-edit that, I could take it back to "please wait, the meeting's host will see you soon," and then press X. And the X means that you haven't saved anything. So I'm going to keep "welcome, we will be with you shortly." So I'm going to press the save button. You can add a logo or a picture. And here I can add pictures if I want. And I can add a description to my waiting room. I can say, this is Karen Yancey's waiting room. And then I would press the check mark to save it. I have up to 400 characters that I could enter it in. And now it's been saved. And I can press close. And now my waiting room has a different message in it. As we go down the list, fewer and fewer of these settings are things that people really need to change. You can require a passcode when scheduling a meeting. That means that people, it says here, the passcode will be generated when scheduling a meeting, and participants must enter the passcode to join the meeting. Frequently, this is sent in an email, and people can copy and paste it into the password or passcode entry box that they will reach before they get into the meeting. Let's see. And like I said, the settings further down are less important, less likely to be changed. Now, for scheduling a meeting, these are default settings. Having the video turned on automatically is very important for making sure that you have a sense of presence in the meeting. Participants' videos are also by default turned on when they enter the meeting. The audio type can be telephone and computer audio, and I have entered meetings using my phone, and there are going to be students that use their phones, use their iPads. The personal meeting ID is essentially an ID that stays the same. And this is by default, you have one. You can turn that off if you want, but having a personal meeting ID is a useful tool. I do not recommend you give it out to your students, your classes as a whole, because anybody who has that ID can jump into your meeting if you are meeting with somebody using that ID. So you want to keep your personal meeting ID to only people that you trust. And when you generate a new meeting, you will have a separate ID, a separate code. So personal meeting IDs are for personal meeting rooms. For example, if you're having office hours, that code stays the same, and any student coming in for those office hours can pop in. When you're generating a class meeting or a recurring meeting, that code is unique and is not your personal meeting ID.
Karen,
yes.
I have a question. When I'm going to teach synchronous classes, right? So I'm going to meet with the students every Monday and every Wednesday. When I schedule a meeting, can I, with the recurrent meeting, can I have the same link for a certain class? So I'm teaching 3 classes, 3 links that will stay the same throughout the semester.
That is called a recurring meeting ID, and yes, you can do that.
Perfect.
I can show that a little bit later. So for chat, you can have a chat in your classroom, and this by default is on. Students will be able to chat to the entire class. You can allow private chats if you wanted between students, but I don't have that on, and I don't encourage that. Let's see. One thing you can do if you are using a PC and possibly a Mac, you can press Control F for find, and you can type in a word such as background. And it will take you to the word virtual background, for example, which is under advanced meeting settings. This I discourage very much. My professional opinion is that with these tools, you are trying to simulate a real experience, a real interaction experience, and virtual backgrounds do not help with that. They make it an artificial experience. And I frequently turn this off, and I recommend that you tell your students to turn this off as well. Also, the rendering of the image is not very good. So if anybody in the background walks past, you'll see that person or you'll see portions of that person. It's not very good for creating interactive experiences. Let's see. I'm going to go to email notification now. And when you have a recording, whether it's to the cloud or a cloud recording for people who have licensed accounts, you can send a copy to the person who scheduled the meeting. And you can also get notifications from Zoom to your email address of when your recording is ready if you have recorded to the cloud. Another thing is that with email notification, you can get email notifications if somebody is in your waiting room. So the email notification settings are useful, and they're by default frequently are on. Okay, you see that these are on. Now I'm going to go up to the top and go to recording. Now, if you are recording to the cloud or to your computer, you have some options. You can give permission for your participants in the meeting to record the meeting locally to their computer hard drive. This is by default on. With the cloud recording, you can tell Zoom to save all of the chat messages in a separate file. That's a text file. You can tell it to record or generate an audio transcript. And you can add other settings if you want, but these are the default, and I typically keep the defaults. Let's see, and that sums up the major settings. Some of them are not things you can adjust. They are locked by the admin, and frequently those are locked to on. So that means that you have the capability. You just can't turn it off. And that's for convenience sake. One of them is always show the meeting control toolbar, which is a very necessary thing in a meeting, in a Zoom meeting. So this is locked to on. And so these are basically conveniences for you. So to address the recurring meeting IDs, you would essentially go to the meetings tab and go to schedule a new meeting. And after you have labeled it, you would then tell it that you want it to be recurring. And you click on, once you do that, you can tell it if you want it to be a daily occurrence or a weekly or a monthly recurrence. Frequently it's weekly, and you can tell it how many times a week. Let's say you have 3 classes a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you can tell it on those days, Friday. And you can give it an end date. So it could be the end of the semester, December 2020 on the 25th. Or you can set it to after a certain number of occurrences. It could be 50 occurrences or so. I'm not sure what the maximum number is. I think it's 20 occurrences. So those are options. Now, the meeting ID that is generated, you have to go down, and you see I have the waiting room on, but I don't have the passcode on for security. So these settings here give you options. And then you would press save. And here is the meeting ID. This is the invite link. And this ID stays the same for every, I'll go to meetings, every meeting that's scheduled. You can see that these are recurring meetings. And
so you can put that link on your syllabus if you teach exclusively online, like I do. Yes. I'm going to put, yes, instead of putting the room number, you know, like in the old days when we were teaching in person, I put the Zoom link.
Yes. And look here, under Tuesday morning meeting, my meeting ends with a 2219. If I go back to my next Tuesday morning meeting, you'll see it's the same. It ends 2219. This
Yep.
is the same link. You can copy the invitation here. And here you'll see you can copy the invitation and then paste that into an email in Canvas, the in-mail feature in Canvas, and send out that invite to all of your students within Canvas, because every student that is enrolled in your class has a matching email address. So you don't even have to go through Gmail or Yahoo. You can just go right into Canvas, use the in-mail feature, and paste this into an in-mail message and send it out to your class.
Karen, if I post an announcement on the announcement page in Canvas, that automatically generates an email to the entire class. If I say, I will see you all on Monday, looking forward to see you all on our Zoom link. And that will go also as an email. It will be on Canvas and also as a class group email.
Yes, so there are different ways of achieving the same goal. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you so much for watching. I can do this. Okay.